is how I make 6 figures a year with no job. I'm honestly so grateful to be able to say that, and it's so mad to think that this time last year, I was solely living off of my income from my corporate job. But now my income comes from 4 different streams, and I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I got started for each, what I've learned from doing it, and I promise I'm going to prove to you why you can do it too, even if you have no experience. So number 1 is my first, my largest, and the one that opens doors to all the other ones. It is e-commerce. I have an online store selling hair extensions and hair products that has been running for about 3 years. There are so many ways of getting into e-commerce. There's drop shipping, there's Amazon FBA, there's print on demand, there's selling on Etsy. I've tried a lot of them, but the one that stuck the most for me is having a brand and building a brand around something that you genuinely care about. And I say genuinely care about because having a product-based business is effort. Like, don't get me wrong, all businesses are effort, but there is a unique type of effort that comes with having a product-based business. And if you are a product-based business owner, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I genuinely think anyone can do this. Whether everyone wants to is another story. But my best advice if you want to get started as a complete beginner, number 1, launch lean. And by launch lean, I mean do not try to overcomplicate the launch process with having everything perfect. There is a concept called minimum viable product where you want to put that out into the market and get feedback and reiterate from there. You don't want to launch with the perfect end product in mind. You want to put in so much effort getting it perfect, but the perfection is actually based off of your opinion rather than the market's opinion. I actually launched my business in 3 weeks and with less than $500. I've done a video in the past breaking down exactly how I did that, which I will link above. Number 2, your niche isn't a product. You might think, okay, I have a business selling skincare, so this is a skincare business. Your niche is actually the avatar, and the avatar is who you are deciding you want to serve. There's an amazing book, it's so underrated. It's called 12 Months to a Million, that breaks down how to scale an e-commerce business to 7 figures, and it leads with deciding on who you want to serve first. Once you decide that, then dig deep, use data, do market research in discovering what that avatar needs, what they're struggling with, what they're currently using, and you build a product around that. You build a community around those people, and the rest just goes from there. And also in terms of growing a business, you want to be as data-driven as possible, but you also want to work with alignment. And by that, I mean there are so many different ways to grow a business. You will start to get so bogged down because there's so much contradicting advice. What are you good at and what do you enjoy? The more you lean into that, the more it will be easier to grow a business. So for me, I found that my analytical brain made sense to lean into the paid ads, email marketing, like the data-driven marketing side of things. But even if you're more of a creative, you can still be data-driven with that alignment and lean into improving your creative skills, but looking at your creative content from a data-driven lens. Okay, so I'm going to keep getting better at being creative because that's what comes naturally to me. I'm also going to compare and contrast different content types to see which one's performing best. The more you lean into both being data-driven but also working with your strengths, the more you'll find that growing a business does not have to feel like you're fighting against every aspect of your nature. Having an e-commerce business has taught me a lot. It was my first real footing into business. It taught me everything functional about running a business. That is from the accounting, that is from growing a team, that is from the logistics, but most importantly, it was my first real example of manifestation working. At the beginning of 2021, which was my first full year of running the business, I said to myself, I don't know how, but I'm gonna make 6 figures in this business this year. Genuinely, at that point, it did not even make sense. I was even still working, and I still worked throughout that entire year, but I did it. It honestly opened the door for everything in my life to change because now I had the belief and I had the proof of what happens when you put these principles to work. But it also revealed my strengths in marketing, which leads me to my next income stream. Freelance digital marketing, I'll put as an umbrella term because I have a few different roles within the field of marketing. So there was a period last year where I just was not enjoying working on my online store anymore and being grounded on the principle of alignment. I was like, I have to lean into what is actually energizing me right now. Unfortunately, I only got this epiphany immediately after I resigned from my job. At that point, I resigned from my job to work on the business, which was going to replace my job as my only source of income. Who does that? I do not know, but I really think God was trying to teach me a lesson. Again, it built my trust in these principles at a whole nother level. So I decided to massively step back from working on the business. Again, who does that? So basically, I knew I had to make something happen really quickly. I decided to start my freelancer hunt on Upwork. I did not have high expectations. You can see I've earned 0, I've got 0 reviews. I kid you not, I got my first job in 2 days. I didn't even have a portfolio. One thing about me, and you'll see this throughout, I launch lean. No matter what I do, I launch lean. But the best place to start if you want to get started in any freelancer role is to learn a high income skill. I cannot stress this enough. I actually did a video on this recently, which is the top high income skills to learn in 2023, and it is backed by data. These skills will definitely increase your earning capacity, whether you're working for yourself as a freelancer or even if you're still in the workplace. Being able to find recurring gigs is really important as well. And what you want to do is when you get in, you want to be proactive with seeing where you can add value. That first freelancer job was actually a copywriting job. Off the back of that, she then asked me to be a coach in her program. So now I do Facebook ads and e-commerce consulting within that program. And then I've got another recurring gig where I'm doing email marketing strategy for an agency for a bunch of their clients. This whole freelancer fiasco was another turning point in my belief in manifestation and my belief in reality creation. But at the point of starting, I was genuinely having an identity identity crisis. I was thinking, what am I doing with myself? I've left my job, don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I just felt like I was in a weird limbo state. At the time, I remember saying to myself, this is the time to test your faith, to test how much you really believe in this stuff. And I just knew that if it worked, my belief on the other side was going to be irreversible. Trust me, I had the anxiety, I had the doubts, I had the lack of self-belief, I had the lack of belief in God, if I'm completely honest. But I knew that this is the time to test these principles. And so every day I had to manually instill the beliefs. I had to manually stand on the principles of delivering value, being irreplaceable, having a strong work ethic, being committed, being disciplined. In this period, there was literally no point I woke up and felt like acting in that way. At this stage, I have 3 recurring freelancer jobs. I'm absolutely not actively looking for any more. And I only spend about 10 to 15 hours per week on all of them combined. But all the while I was doing this and still keeping the lights on in my e-commerce business, I was also working on making content because I really enjoyed it. And that unintentionally, very unintentionally, led to another income stream. If you don't know what UGC is user-generated content, and it's basically when brands purchase content from you for them to own so that they can do whatever they want to do with it, whether that's run ads, put it on their website. I've literally only been doing UGC for maybe just over 2 months, and already it's almost overtaking my freelancer income, and it takes much less time. So firstly, I actually started getting inbound requests because of my TikTok. Shameless plug to follow. On my TikTok, I guess brands could see that my content was resonating. I got my first deal, which was a 4-figure sum, and listen, it did not take me long to do, let's just say that. And the clients were very, very happy. So at this point, my eyes were open and proactivity kicked in, because I was like, I need to start making more of this happen. And the way I started finding brands to do cold outreach is I would see which ads I was getting for brands in my niche, and if they were using UGC, that was my proof that they needed UGC. I take note of the brand and I reach out and ask if they're looking for UGC. Again, when I started this, I didn't have any portfolio. I didn't want to overcomplicate it and start making stuff before I even knew if it was going to work. Then when a brand actually did ask to see my portfolio, I made one, and then I got another bulk UGC deal. This is very early stages, but I really do plan to scale this, and my plan is to approach it very similar to freelancing. I'm going to be proactive in identifying areas where I know I can provide more value. It's like slightly different from upselling, because with upselling, you go in with the mindset that this is something else I have to sell, so once I'm in, I'm going to also try to sell them this. Whereas this is almost designing your offer around what you identify them to need. If you have that strategic brain of identifying real areas of improvement, that's going to show you as a different type of asset compared to everyone else that will most likely go in just thinking, where else can I sell this, where else can I sell this. Also similar to freelancing, I'm going to prioritize recurring gigs. I'm just so grateful that doors are being open in the content space, because I really do enjoy making content, and I'm so grateful for my accountability partner, because she's the one who pushed me to get on TikTok. I genuinely used to think it was so corny. I didn't want to go on there, but it has opened so many doors. What I've learned from doing UGC so far is content is king. These brands have money, so negotiate. And again, your experience can be your portfolio. Speaking of your experience being your portfolio, probably the easiest business model out there, consulting. The way I see people overcomplicating like how to become a consultant, set up this, set up that. All I did is make an Acuity link, and bam, I was a consultant. And literally, as soon as I made that link, I started getting bookings. At first, I was actively promoting it through like YouTube video descriptions, newsletters. Now I'm so wary of spreading myself too thin. Nowadays, I only really do it ad hoc if someone I know, or at least know of, kind of asks me, but I really don't actively promote it at all. I think it's a very known thing at this point that content paves a lot of opportunities. Like, since I've been on TikTok, the amount of DMs I've gotten of people asking me to coach them, not even just consulting, but actually coach them one-on-one. It just goes to show that there's always going to be a strong demand for your knowledge when you've proven that you're not talking out your backside. Right now, I'm really happy to keep providing free content and seeing where that leads me, as opposed to doing like one-to-one coaching or one-to-one consulting. But I am very open to corporate consulting, which is something I'm becoming more familiar with. So again, I'll just see where that takes me. Honestly, my income stream plans for the rest of 2023 and moving forward is just to keep being grounded on the principle of alignment. Regularly go to God and ask him where he's leading me, to check in on how things feel in my body, because our bodies are genuinely telling us so much, but we spend so much time in our head. I have so many ideas, and I genuinely know that by this time next year, I will have double the amount of income streams. But I'm just not getting fixated on when or where or exactly what it's going to look like. I'm someone that can get so excited with my ideas and just go and move fast. But at this stage, the word I've been given is to slow down, to speed up. Right now, I'm actually on a workcation in Spain to do just this. A quote I absolutely love: we limit God when we only see him through the prisms of our desires. Now I've actually learned to let Jesus take the wheel, and I will update you in a year. But if you do want to grow an online product business, then here's a playlist.